Section 1 of Joseph in the Snow and the Clockmaker, Volume 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Rita Boutros. Joseph in the Snow and the Clockmaker, Volume 1, by Berthold Auerbach. Chapter 1. Is it not yet morning? "Mother, is it morning yet?" asked the child, sitting up in bed. "No, not nearly. Why do you ask? Lie still and go to sleep." The child was quiet for a short time, but then repeated in a low voice, "Mother, is it morning yet?" "What is the matter, Joseph? Do be quiet, don't disturb me, and go to sleep. Say your prayers again, and then you will fall asleep." The mother repeated the child's night prayers along with him, and then said, "Now good night, Joseph." The boy was silent for a while, but on hearing his mother turn in bed, he called to her in a whisper, "Mother!" No answer. "Mother! Mother! Mother!" "What is it? What do you want?" "Is it not daylight yet?" "You are a naughty child, very naughty. Why do you persist in disturbing my night's rest? I am weary enough, for I have been 3 times in the forest today. If you wake me up again, the Holy Child will bring you nothing tomorrow but a birch rod." The boy sighed deeply and said, "Good night, then, till tomorrow," and wrapped himself up in the bedclothes. The room where this dialogue took place was small and dark, an attic under a thatched roof. The panes of glass in the little window were frozen over, so that the bright moonlight could not penetrate through them. The mother rose and bent over the child. He was sleeping sound and lying quiet. The mother, however, could not go to sleep again, though she had once more laid down and closed her eyes, for we can hear her saying distinctly, "Even if he some day asks me to share his home, and in spite of everything, I firmly believe he will one day do so. He cannot do otherwise. He must. But even then, how cruelly he has slighted both me and our child! The years that are past come no more. We can have them but once in life. Oh, if I could but begin life again, if I could only awake and feel that it was not true, and that I have never sinned so heavily. But the weight of one's sin is a burden forever. No one can bear it for another. Can it be true that I was once so gay and happy as people say? What could the child mean by calling out 3 times, "Is it morning yet?" What is to happen in the course of this day? Oh, Adam, Adam, you don't know all I suffer. If you did, you could not sleep either. The stream that ran past the house was frozen over, but in the silence of the night the gurgling of the water was heard under the covering of ice. The thoughts of the wakeful woman followed the current of the brook in its distant flow, when, after traversing pathless valleys and deep ravines, its course was checked by the forest mill. The waters rushing and foaming and revolving over the mill wheels, just as the thoughts of this watchful mother revolved dizzily on her sorrows at dead of night. For within that mill dwells the dreaded object on whom the eyes of Adam's parents were fixed. The forest miller's Tony had always been thought a good-hearted, excellent girl, and yet now she seemed so cruel. What has the forest miller's daughter Tony to do with you? You have no claim on her. But on him? On Adam? The sleepless girl clenched her hands convulsively. She felt a stab in her heart, and said, in a voice of anguish, "Can he ever be faithless to me? No, he could not. But if he dared to desert me, I would not suffer it. I would go to church with my little Joseph. But no, I would not take him with me. I would go alone, and call out Adam's name. I could not endure it, and then we should see if the clergyman would marry them." The brook once more flows tranquilly through a quiet meadow. On its banks some oaks and beeches droop their branches, but the hills are covered thickly with lofty pines. The stream rushes again over rocks into deep ravines. Now it runs rapidly along. There lies the boundary stone. "Now we are at home," had Adam once said. And yet this stone is fully 2 miles from the Rotmanshof. In the Otterswanger wood belonging to it lies a peaceful nook beside the river, overshadowed by a spreading beech. The girl passes her cold hand over her feverish cheek. There, under that leafy beech, she had first been noticed by Adam. No one in the world would have believed that he could be so merry and talkative, so kind and so gentle. It was a lovely summer's day. On the previous evening there had been a violent storm. The thunder and lightning had been so tremendous that it seemed as if no tree in the forest could escape scatheless. Just so is it here below. Without in the woods, and within in the houses, noise, strife, and wrangling, till even murder seems not improbable. And yet, the very next day, everything is as peaceful as before. It is indeed a charming summer morning that we allude to. Streams are flowing in their various channels with a merry noise, hurrying on their course, as if knowing that they have only a day to live, and are to be seen no more on the morrow. The birds are singing cheerfully, and the girl washing at the brook can't help doing the same. She must sing also, and why not? She is still quite young and free from care. She knows a variety of songs. She learned them from her father, who was once the best and sweetest singer in the village. Some men are descending the stream, as there is now water enough to float a raft. And see how skillfully they manage it. Here is Adam, the only son of the Rotmans, on a solitary raft, which whirls round and round with the current. But Adam knows what he is about, and stands firm and erect. And when he comes close to the girl washing her linen in the brook, he lets the raft swim away alone, and placing the oar firmly in the bed of the stream, he raises himself into the air, and jumps on shore by one bold spring. The girl laughs when she sees the tall, powerful young man, with his high fisherman's boots dangling in the air, and yet her heart quails when he alights close beside her. "I have long wished to tell you how much I feel obliged to you," said Adam. "Why? For what?" "For staying so long with my mother, and enduring so much. I am a servant, and receive wages, so I ought in return to bear a good deal. And your mother has her own burden to bear, for she is angry with our Heavenly Father, because your brother was killed by a falling tree. She has no love either for God or her fellow creatures, but she only makes herself miserable." Adam looked at her kindly, but suddenly he lifted up his oar abruptly, exclaiming, "I must be off. Good-bye." He sprang into the brook, making the water splash above his head, pushing the raft, which had been stopped by a bend in the stream, vigorously forward into the center of the current. Martina looked after him in astonishment. What is the matter with Adam? He is quickly out of sight, and is presently heard shouting at a distance with the other bargemen, and then all is still again. For weeks Adam never spoke one word to Martina. Indeed, he scarcely seemed to notice her. But in autumn, both cows and oxen pasture at that season in the meadows. Martina was passing along and descending the hill, there being no spring close to the house on the level ground. The water for drinking must be fetched from halfway down the hill, when suddenly she saw a bull erect its head and begin to paw the ground. It was a fine sight to see the heavy animal tossing its horns, but the herd boy called out, "Save yourself, Martina, or you will be tossed by the bull." Martina uttered a shrill scream and turned to run away, hiding her face, but fell down. She could hear the snorting animal close to her, when all at once he lay stretched on the ground, bellowing. Adam had rushed up, seized the animal by the horns, and held down his head, till some of the farm servants came up and helped to bind him. Martina is saved, but Adam only said, "The next time that you go through the meadow, don't wear a scarlet handkerchief on your head." Adam was covered with blood, and Martina asked, "For heaven's sake tell me, have you been hurt by the bull?" "Oh, pray make no fuss, it is nothing. The bull was bleeding at the mouth, and so he sprinkled me with blood. Go now and fetch the water." So saying, he turned away, and went to a pond to wash off the blood. Not till she had reached the well did Martina become fully alive to the danger she had escaped. She felt the deadly peril she had been in, and from which Adam had rescued her. As she wept, admiration mingled with her tears, and heartfelt gratitude to the bold and intrepid young man. At dinner time she heard his mother say to Adam, "You are the most silly, good-for-nothing creature in the world, to go and risk your life to save that of a stupid maid." "I'll never do it again," answered Adam. "I rather think," said his father with a smile, "that you are not likely to do such a thing twice, as to hold down a bull by the horns, and yet to escape alive. It's a pity no one saw you, for it is a feat the whole neighborhood would have talked about." From this period Adam always noticed Martina by a kind nod, but never spoke a single word to her. He seemed only to be pleased that she had given him an opportunity to perform a genuine Rotman's exploit. Shortly after, Martina was again washing at the brook, when Adam once more stood before her. "Are you quite recovered from your fright?" said he. "No, my limbs still tremble from the terrible fear I felt. But as long as I live I will thank you for having—" "Pray don't talk about it. The animal was not vicious. No animal is naturally so, neither horse nor ox, if not persecuted when young by being foolishly hunted and cruelly goaded, and thus made bad-tempered. Then at last they are so with a vengeance. But tell me, don't you know all, and don't you like me as much as I like you?" He could not say much, but there was infinite tenderness in his eyes, and subdued but deep love, as he looked at Martina and laid his hand on her shoulder, and no man would have believed that the rough, stalwart Adam could have been so loving and gentle. They were standing silently under the spreading beech, and Martina gazing up at the bright rays of sunshine darting through the leaves. "Look how beautiful this tree is," said she. "A very useless one," said Adam. "A vast number of branches, but a poor trunk." "I was not thinking of that, but see how it shines and glitters, all green and gold." "You are right, it is beautiful," said Adam, and his glance was unusually mild, as the rays of the sun sportively flickered on his stern, embrowned features. For the first time it seemed to occur to him that a tree could be looked at in any other light than that of its marketable value. And as often as Martina thought of the bright sunshine she had seen through the foliage of the beech, she felt as if these sunny rays were still shining on her, and were never to cease shining. Adam, seizing Martina's hand, said, as if he intended a solemn asseveration, "This tree shall never be cut down, it shall never be felled by me till our wedding, or rather it shall always remain where it is, and listen to the merry music of our bridal procession as it passes along. Martina, give me something. Have you nothing you could give me?" "I am poor and have nothing to give away." "I see something I should like to have. Will you give it to me?" "Yes, what is it? Whatever you like." "I see your name embroidered on your handkerchief. Tear out the piece and give it to me." "Gladly." She turned away and tore out the piece of muslin where her name was marked, and gave it to him. "I give you nothing," said he, "but look round, so far as you can see, all is yours." At this speech, proving how rich Adam was, and how poor Martina, she felt very sorrowful, but Adam still grasped her hand, so every other feeling was absorbed in love for him. The love which had taken possession of both was an overpowering, headlong, wild passion, and quickly succeeded by grief and misery. For the first time in his life, Adam was sent with a raft down the Rhine to Holland, and during his absence Martina was driven out of the house in shame and disgrace. These were the joyous and sorrowful events of the past that once more floated before the eyes of Martina in her garret. She hid her face in the pillow. The cocks in the village began to crow, as it was now past midnight. "That is the new-fashioned bird crowing that Haspel lately bought. How hoarse and loud the long-legged creature crows! Our own home birds have a much more cheerful cry. But Haspel is an excellent man, and so kind and good to my boy. He meant to do me a kindness when he once said to me, 'Martina, in my eyes you are a widow, and a worthy woman.' 'Yes,' said I, 'but my husband is not dead. I grieve that you like me, as I cannot marry you. No, such a thought is far from my heart.'" Martina could not close her eyes, but lay anxiously awaiting the dawn of day. Sometimes sleep seemed about to take compassion on her, but scarcely had she closed her eyes than she started up again. She thought she heard the voice of Adam's mother, the stormy Rotmanin, and saw her sharp, sarcastic face, and Martina whispered sadly to herself, "Oh, when will it be light?" End of Section 1.